Tottenham till I die, Spurs Diehards. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Spurs Diehards. Tottenham till I die.
Hello and welcome to the regular Tuesday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. Tonight we will be discussing transfer rumours, basically the ongoing Morgan Gibbs-White saga. And there's not that great deal of information out here, and I'm sure we'll all be glad when games start coming, which is the first one will be this Saturday, won't it, against Reading, but we're not discussing that tonight. So, without further ado, I'll introduce the guests. Kev, how are you? Regular friend of the show.
Yeah, hi Adrian, hi Ian, Brad. Yeah, I'm fine, thank you very much. Now recovered from my holiday, so that's all right, and recovered from the new grandson as well. So just boiling up to the first grandson's first birthday on Saturday. So, but apart from that, normal work,
Hand in a pocket job then.
Oh dear me.
Brad, regular friend of the show as well. How are you? Blue Sofa Songs. And actually, I forgot to get your link up. Go on.
I'm good, thanks. Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone in the chat. It's a Tuesday night, I guess. It's every day brings you closer to the weekend. Tomorrow is hump day. So yeah, I'm fine, and just I'm sort of enjoying the off season. I have to say, enjoying the cricket, all that sort of thing, and not having to worry about, not having to stress about results and how we're playing and who's injured, who's not. And obviously, there is a certain level of stress in the transfer window, I guess, but it's not as bad as it gets during the football season.
Right, and fellow co-owner and co-founder Ian, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm a bit jet lagged, but I wanted to on this Morgan Gibbs-White saga before I fall asleep. I think 707. Is that in Melbourne? Oh no, Wollongong. Yeah, okay, taken over Peters. Yeah, I'm. See, I have to have.
Well, to keep you awake, Ian, you can handle the chat, right? Okay, there aren't too many in, but we have got 40 viewers, which is good tonight because every show's out there. There's so many shows going out. They're all friends, though. So yeah. Big up, Brian. We'll talk on the phone shortly. I should imagine, maybe even after the show. Brian, yeah. And we've got Beast of TH, who's recently joined us in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, he did that all himself. Adrian did. Yeah.
What was that? Sorry.
Milton's comment.
All right. Yeah, I know. The vocals. I've got lots more. I mean, we've got about 10 or 11 tunes we can play. Ian's got a couple, and I did 2 more today. Yeah, Chris Barrett. Yeah.
For the show though, so and there we go. Milton's and the 707. Wollongong.
Paul Brown's irregular.
On it. And Paul's
all right. Jose's here. Look.
Oh, and listen, and there's Jose, one of our great friends and supporters, without whom so little would have been possible. Jose, eternal gratitude. In fact, Brad, when won the award, you said about. I meant to comment on it, and I was busy, and I forgot to come back to it about having made a small contribution. You've been a brilliant guest on the show, and you've been a massive contributor to our success.
We need to get you on, but you're very elusive, Jose. Graham's here, and we need to get
We say that
David
about him
Shearer
at work as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we was even considering doing a David Shearer, Peter Cahagias, and Milton O'Braga. We could have an Aussie show. You know what I mean?
You in Perth or Western Australia somewhere, David? I presume. You can let us know anyway.
I thought everyone lived all along the south coast of Oz.
No, there's a place in Australia called Far.
Big up Chris as well. When Ian's finished doing that, we'll get straight into it.
You go, Adrian, whatever banner. It's 53 in the house, which is a lovely number. Really good number.
It is good. I mean, we're picking them up. I mean, it's good of you all on different platforms, which isn't affecting the local groups, because I know at least about 6 or 7 groups that like now. Yeah. Right, news, views, transfer rumours. This is what we're going to start with, the latest news on this. It's not a start. I'm going to start with Ian first on this, get his take on this, because he's done a few shorts. And by the way, before he starts, we've started doing shorts on the YouTube page for you guys. So if you like a short, they're under 3 minutes. They have to be under 3 minutes anyway. 3 minutes or under. And Ian started doing those. But if you wish to, unless you go to the page, if you really want to get these shorts on your mobile phones, it's only YouTube on mobile phones. I'm always on the laptop. I don't use YouTube on a mobile phone. You have to have your notifications turned on if you want the alerts for the short. So just sort of put that in for anybody in here now or anyone watching on playback. Okay, Ian, give us your take on this situation.
Where do you start? Right. Okay. What do we know and what are we surmising? This is part of the scenario. We know, I think, as a fact that for whatever reason, Morgan Gibbs White's agent was offering him to other clubs. We don't know the reason for that. Maybe he was a bit peed off that Alanga left or whatever, or found out Alanga was going to get an extra 50 grand a week going to Newcastle. We don't know. But as I understand the information we've got, his agent was offering him came to Tottenham, went to Tottenham and said, Morgan Gibbs White would be available. Are you interested? Presumably the conversation was along the lines of, yeah, we're interested. What's the price? Buyout clause of 60 million. We're interested. We no doubt talked to Morgan Gibbs White. What are you on at the moment? I'm on 75 grand a week. Right, great. What are you looking for? To come to Tottenham, 150 grand a week. Okay, we can do that. We write to Forest and tell them we're applying the release clause, £60 million. Thank you, send the player. That I think is pretty simplistic, but it's where we've got to. Forest get wind of this on Saturday, I think it is, or Friday, and the owner, who we know can be a bit of a hothead, says, you're not going anywhere, there's a breach of confidentiality. I want to take legal advice. What a lot of Spurs supporters haven't picked up on, but Forest are well aware. The chairman of Nottingham Forest, be a non-executive role, is Nicholas Randall KC. He is a leading King's Counsel in sports law and employment law. So let's work on the basis that what he doesn't know about employment law and employment law related to sport isn't worth knowing. And he'll certainly know an awful lot more than me. But I'm still struggling to see where the case is against Tottenham. And this is where it comes in. Tottenham cannot be in breach of a contract that they're not party to. They're not a party to Morgan Gibbs White's contract of employment with Nottingham Forest, nor are they privy or party to any contract or non-contract between the agents of Morgan Gibbs White and Nottingham Forest Football Club. So that's sort of the starting point. There's then the second issue seems to be the breach of confidentiality. But I just, for the life of me, don't understand that. And I'll come back to it. Because what's the point of a release clause? It seems to be his argument with the stuff we've read is how come Tottenham managed to pitch the bid at the exact amount of the release clause? Therefore, there's been a breach of confidentiality. None of that makes a lot of sense. If there will be clauses in contracts of employment, and you notice how little you read about such and such was in a fight on the training ground, or I didn't like this one, I didn't like that one. Players, managers, etc., will be bound up in confidentiality, non-disclosure clauses, which will probably last ad infinitum. They won't just for the period of the contract. And Kev, Brad, I'm not sure what you did, but Kev, in your line of work, you will be privy to certain confidential information. In fact, we've discussed that only when it became in the public eye were you able to disclose that. But there might be things that are in your contract of employment with what is it, Chesham Council?
Broxhorn Council, Broxhorn.
Broxhorn.
That might bound you to confidentiality for life on certain things. That might not, but there will be things on that. But there's a breach of confidentiality. Now, I can't understand how there can be a release clause, but it's a secret. The whole point is that the release clause must be there, that if somebody meets the release clause, the player can leave. Now, it seems to me that for whatever reason, Forest have got caught with their trousers down here. Because although they've apparently tried to negotiate better terms with him, the £60 million release clause is relatively inexpensive. I heard Sky Andrew talking about this, that he's a £100 million player.
Saw that.
He's not 100.
No.
But best will in the world at £60 million in this market, it's a very good buy. If it was 75 million, I don't think that would be overpaying for him. But if they're saying there is a breach of confidentiality because there is a clause in the contract that specifically related to the release clause says that that's confidential, then so be it. But the breach of confidentiality isn't Tottenham's. It's the agent. So their remedy isn't against Tottenham. As I see it in law, it's against the agent. But let's look at this another way. Say, but Tottenham are benefiting from this breach of confidentiality. So let's look at it. Take football out of it for a minute. I'm a leading research chemist at Coca-Cola. I have access to the Coca-Cola formula. Everybody knows that's one of the greatest trade secrets in the world. I leave Coca-Cola and I go and work for soft
Pepsi.
drinks. Yeah. No, I don't think Pepsi would want that. But anyway, so I go and work for Soft Drinks Incorporated, and Coca-Cola find out I've taken the formula. Now, Coca-Cola can sue me for the breach of confidentiality. They could also seek relief from Coca-Cola, from Soft Drinks Incorporated or Limited, because they are gaining from what's a manifest breach of contract by me. So on the face of it, you'd say, well, Nottingham Forest are entitled to stop Tottenham if they have breached a confidentiality from which they're gaining. The problem for that, as I see it, is the release clause is £60 million, and Tottenham are paying the £60 million. So therefore, what have Forest got to complain about? Your release clause says, confidentiality or not, that the player can leave for £60 million. Spurs are prepared to offer the £60 million, so you've got no loss. you've got absolutely no loss arising from anything. So I am at a loss to understand where Forest actually goes, other than the fact they're trying to create as much trouble with a view either to wear the player down and just says, "Oh, fuck this, I'll just stay with Forest."
Ian, do you? What I don't understand is that the way it was reported on Thursday night, that it was a done deal. Not on Forest had given permission for him to have a medical, and yet suddenly on Friday it's all changed. Do you think it might be the owner is the one that's causing the problems here, and not the actual club?
Who's causing problem? Not the club.
The owner, the Greek guy.
Marrakesh, yeah. Marrakesh. Absolutely. And what we don't know is, of course, we'll ever find out is what advice he's taking and what advice he's getting from the chairman. Oh, there's another claim of tapping up, by the way. I shouldn't ignore that. But we all know tapping up takes. And that, in any event, I don't think is a matter for the civil courts. I don't think the civil courts would entertain that. No. I think the civil courts would turn around and say, no, that football has processes. And in fact, the recent history of, if you go back, for example, we're all old enough to remember Steve Foster challenging the FA when he wanted to play in the 1983 Cup final, and he lost that appeal. And basically, the court said football has its own internal processes. If you've got internal processes, the courts are not going to interfere with that. And football has its own internal processes. The Court of Arbitration for Sport tends to only get involved in matters where the sport hasn't followed its own proper processes. If there's been a breach of process, it won't get involved in the factual dispute between the parties. So, I think Marrakesh is trying to make as much trouble. I think he's got caught with his pants down. I have said that I think
not a good image.
when they sold Alanga, I don't think for a minute they thought there was any possibility that they were going to lose Morgan Gibbs White as well. And from a football point of view, I'm quite sympathetic with them. But they've had the best season in donkey's years. They've qualified for Europe. You can argue about what competition, but they've qualified for Europe. And then the heart of the club gets taken out, and the rug, literally, as Lewis Capaldi said, I let my guard down and then you pulled the rug. And that's exactly what's happened at Forest. But I would hope that just behind all the bluster, there's lots of noise. But, for example, one of our senior legal people is talking to Nicholas Randall and I would have thought the Football Association, the Premier League rather, are getting him. Not that I think they're much use, but I would hope they are involved themselves as well, because there's nothing worse for the image of the game than two clubs having a public spat like this.
Well, Sky Sports tonight said the possibility of Morgan Gibbs White or his agent suing Nottingham Forest breach contract.
They can do that. They can do that, but
well, they could, because they could say we've all met the part. I mean, this isn't where you need in any sort of legal negotiation like this. You need light. You don't need heat. You need someone to sit down and say, right, come on, what's the solution here?
You can always come to a solution with contract disputes. I mean, we do it all the time, but mine's property mainly rather than employment or anything like that. There's a dispute, you sit down and you try and avoid go to court at all costs, because that's what costs you the money at the end of the day. And you come to a negotiated, amiable solution that all parties are reasonably happy with at the end of the day. Not everyone can win, can they? So in those sort of situations, I mean, I've got my two takes on this is, okay, if it's confidential and someone makes a bid, one presumes the club then have to go to the player and say, we've had a bid and it's got the release clause. Do you want to go? And if he says no, then they just say we're not accepting the bid, and no one still knows about the confidentiality clause.
Yeah.
But if Spurs did know what the amount was, wouldn't it have been a bit more politic to go in $1 million over?
Do a bit more politics to do what, Kev?
To go in $1 million over the release clause, so so we go, oh, we're 60 million, we're going at 61. That way we won't raise any suspicions that someone told us.
Well, Arsene Wenger did that, didn't he? For Suarez.
Well, they did the £1 or whatever it was, didn't they? Yeah, that sort of stupid thing. But that and and in that case, then they're going, well, blast.
Or the other thing on TalkSport with there was Jim White, Martin O'Neill, Simon Jordan. I don't know. About this tapping up. I mean, they were basically Nottingham Forest. I mean, we covered quite a bit on the show with Callum on Sunday about the fact that we've been talking to Palace for 3 weeks. Adam Wharton. Now, let's get real here. What would be the point in us negotiating for 3 weeks and maybe another 3 weeks over Adam Wharton? And then Palace say to Adam Wharton, we've accepted an offer for you, which is what happened in the old days. We've accepted an offer for you from Tottenham Hotspur. And Adam Wharton turns around and says, well, thanks a lot, but I don't want to go there. I'd rather slap with you, Steve, So it's obvious you don't go in the real world. You don't go making an offer to the club unless the player has given you an indication, a strong indication that he wants to come, and in broad terms, what the weekly, the weekly or annual salary he's looking for. That's just how the game's, that's just how the game played. BCTH Trevor Francis with the extra £1. I mean, if you go back even further than that, when Bill Nicholson signed Jimmy Greaves from AC,
999. Or 99,999, wasn't it?
On the he didn't want to give Greavesy the stigma of being the first £100,000.
Brad, let's bring you in on this. Get your take, and I'll give my take last. Yeah, what's your take on this?
Well, as I said earlier, I mean, on Thursday night it was a done deal. Forrest had given permission for him to go for a medical, and then suddenly on Thursday I'm having a beer at the beer festival, and my mate who's a big Arsenal fan said, "Oh, it's been called off." I said, "What?" And then I went into this all this other stuff that's been on. So I don't really know. I mean, if they bid the release clause, someone's accepted it. Who's accepted it? The agent's accepted it. Can the agent accept it? Or has the club accepted it? Because if the club's accepted it, then what's the problem? Why are they suddenly, going funny about it? As Ian was saying, if that's what they put in the contract, and someone said we'll pay that,
Brad,
why not?
That's what annoyed them. Sorry, I know you. I'll shut up, but I wonder if that's what annoyed them. That Spurs said we're activating the release clause, and he's coming for a medical tomorrow, rather than Forest actually giving permission. Spurs just, because we've enacted the release clause, which we know is 60 million, there's nothing to discuss. And that's what's pissed Forest off. I don't know.
Also, the other fact is that they've been trying to negotiate a new contract for the last year with him.
Yeah.
Which suggests to me that in the new contract, they put a release clause of a lot more money. So you can probably see why they're a little bit miffed over that. But hey, that's not our problem. The only thing that worries me about this whole deal is that someone like your Man City or whatever will come in with a bit of 80 million.
No, they can't do that.
They can't? Okay.
No, the release clause, the price is binding. It can't be changed now. That's what they valued the player at.
Yeah, exactly.
So now you can't overcharge someone for that.
Yeah.
If they came in for 60 mil and offered him 500 grand a week and took him, but they won't be paying more than 60 mil.
And the other thing is we haven't
heard.
That's
my understanding of it.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything. Not that we were expecting to, but we haven't actually heard anything from the player himself. It would be nice if he said, "Oh, yeah, I really want to go to Scotland."
I mean, we have not heard anything official from Spurs either, really, have we?
No.
There's been no announcements.
No,
I mean,
because
everyone
they
says,
know-
"Oh, Spurs said he's booked in for a medical." Well, how do we know that?
Yeah.
No.
You know, no one really knows what's going
Let me-
on because
let me give you
neither
my take.
only Forest have said things, but no one else has.
I find it quite funny. There's some of the stuff on social media is quite funny with the in the nose. And there are people in there that do know what
I'm
they're
sure
talking
there
about.
must
There are
be.
certain other ones. Someone said, "Oh yeah, he turned up at Forest training wearing blue and white." Oh, that's
He
a
did,
sign.
yes.
All this sort of stuff. So it's
Yeah.
it just gets to be beyond silly season. But yeah, I'll be I'll feel a lot better once he's we see him holding up the shirt. But everyone seems to be confident that the deal will go through. It's just going to be delayed a bit.
I'll give you my take on this, right? I mean, I don't think our club are at fault in any way whatsoever.
No.
For a non-disclosure release clause, right? The player would know, his agent would know, his mum and dad would know, his family would know, his close friends would know, his associates would know, third parties would know. Even it might be there'd be a group that would know. But then the cynic in me tells me, who gains out of this? Well, the agent's always gain because they get a cut. The player will get an improved contract. He knows he's going to gain anyway. He wouldn't sign another contract with Forest, right? So he wasn't going to stay. So to me, the agent, it's looking like we've got to prove it though, because even Marinakis, if he wants to sue the agent, right, then he's got to prove the agent said something. The agent could deny it, so I haven't said it. There's loads of people knew about this release clause, but it wasn't. And like his mum or his dad informed Spurs or whatever you could get down. It's going to be very hard to prove the agent said it, even if all fingers point at him, which looks likely. So the agent's told Spurs, right? Because Spurs probably wouldn't have been in him because if they thought he was worth 75, 80 million, 90 million, they wouldn't even look that way, even though we've been interested in the player. So then the agent tells Spurs, and now Spurs go, well, what was he looking for in wages, like Ian alluded to, blah, blah. And they said, yeah, fine. And said, what's the price? Oh, there's a release clause. It's 60 mil, is it? Now he's looking a very attractive buy. So now the club, all they've got to do is write to Forest and say we're activating the release clause. And that's legally binding, that release clause. You have to sell the player or let him go if he wants to come to you.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have spoken to the player. So for Forest to say Spurs have spoken with the player, tapped him up, they're out of order to say that if they haven't got proof of that. They're out of order. You can suggest it, right? You can suggest it, allege it, but without getting involved in slander and libel, right, or defamation. So I think this is what's happened. I don't think Spurs have put a foot wrong. Even if they have, what they're going to get? A fine. We still get the player. We still get the player. The damage is done. He's not staying at Forest now. Half their fan base won't want him now because they know, will his heart be in it? Will he give his all? Blah, blah, blah. If you're pro, you would. You'd have to. So my take on it is, Ian might disagree or agree with part of none of what I've said, but my take on it is we didn't actually even speak with the player, and there was no medical or nothing like that because he was away with England, and he came back, and then it sort of broke. I don't. Ian might have something to add to it, Ian.
No, not masses. I mean, I do think Spurs have played a really great game by doing sometimes in any negotiation or situation, you actually doing nothing is the right strategy. And Spurs have just sat back. I would hope behind the scenes there, that we've got our top lawyers talking to their chairman about how we can resolve it. And I do think part of the problem is their owner is basically as mad as a bunch of frogs, as a box of frogs. I don't think that's helpful for this situation.
They need to come to an amicable agreement in Dunlop because worst case scenario, if you wanted to drag this out, Spurs could sue Forest. We don't get the player. I mean, you wouldn't want to go there because, like you said, they've got a good QC there. So don't want to go there, get involved. Only the lawyers profit. It's messy, isn't it? Ugly,
One thing that does occur to me, that if Tottenham, for example, called the player down and says, or wrote to Forest and saying, we are invoking the release clause. We are instructing the player, having invoked the release clause, to come to Tottenham Hotspur for a medical tomorrow. And they do that. He passes the medical. They sign the player, and then say to Forest, release his registration. And then if he doesn't, the Spurs go to the Premier League and say, we've signed the player in accordance with his release clause. If they want to sue us in the courts, they can sue us for the alleged damages arising. But we're entitled to sign the player based on his contract of employment. I mean, there is a principal law called contra preferentem, which is that any ambiguity in a contract is resolved against the person that created the ambiguity. In which case, it will be Forest and/or their lawyers who wrote the contract of employment. So, I mean, I think that's a nuclear solution, and I think that's one of those putting heat rather than light on the situation. But it seems to me that would be an option. Himothy on Twitter, who's a pretty reliable ITK, has said that the release clause doesn't have to be paid in one foul swoop. It says it's two instalments, 2 equal instalments. So if Tottenham send Nottingham Forest £30 million, I'm struggling to see what Forest would do, but obviously that's not your first solution, because it will, particularly with somebody like their owner,
Ian,
yeah.
Come back to me on this. We hit the release clause, right?
Yeah.
So surely we've hit it. Now, debatable whether we spoke to the player or not. I don't think we had to. As long as we send them a letter saying we're releasing, we're activating it, I don't see that as an issue. Then if Forest to say you ain't speaking to the player, that doesn't add up to me, because now we've activated the release clause. We are entitled to speak to the player because we are buying him.
Well, I think it's they're obliged to sell the player at that price. That's the point.
Yeah.
The player actually isn't obliged to go. Remember, the player can
No, he could say, no, I'm not going.
This clause, it doesn't, we're not talking about slaves here. Morgan Gibbs,
Right.
sorry about that. Yeah. The player is entitled to turn round at any point and say, I'm not going to go to that football club, whichever that football club might be. There's certainly no obligation on him to go anywhere. But if there is a release clause, any club that meets that release clause means that the player is entitled to leave for that sum in the release clause. That's the purpose, the sole purpose of a release clause.
Yeah. It's just like I say, I think Marinakis, like for someone who's worth $5 billion, he turns out to be a clueless two-bob merchant, as far as I'm concerned.
It seems to me that the sensible thing would be, all right, if we needed to offer them another $5 million as a sweetener or whatever, fine. I mean, maybe Levy will do that. It might stick in his throat, but we've got some extra money about at the moment. Or let's say we will give you first choice. It's like the first pick in the draft. We will give you first choice of any player that we're sending out on loan.
I don't see Levy doing that though, because if we're all above board, and there's no reason why we shouldn't think we are, but he's not paying extra. I mean, why should he? I mean, Marinakis, okay, you delay it, but you can't delay it forever. You can't, and the longer it goes on, the worse it makes Forest look anyway.
He is under contract with Forest. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
But triggering the release clause means you're entitled to take over that contract of employment. That is the whole point of a release clause.
And also means, to me, surely, Ian, I mean, I might be wrong technically here. Surely that means once you've triggered the release clause, if the player's made it known he's willing to come, surely you are entitled to speak to him whether his club says no anyway, because you've tried to get the player anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to change the subject completely. There's 107 of you, which is absolutely wonderful. Given
On a Tuesday, it's fantastic.
Goes on tonight. couple of things. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. And for those of you watching on YouTube, please also, can you hit the alarm button, which and trigger all notifications?
Notification bell, Ian. Notification.
Sorry?
The notification bell.
Oh, yeah, sorry, there's not a fire. There's not a fire. Stay in the house.
Then you'll get Ian Schultz, because Ian will be doing a lot of
Then
shorts.
you won't miss anything then.
Yeah, I'm putting my Adrian will do shorts as well, but putting my take me worth in on what I perceive to be the employment law implications. Although I'll make it plain, I've got no experience whatsoever of football contracts, but they're not. They're the same. They're the same. Just you have to kick a ball around for a living. They'll be different.
And for the 106 of you watching, I mean, you'll see the little icon in the bottom right-hand corner. You can just click on it to subscribe to the channel. We are taking memberships as well. Just started doing that if anyone's interested. But yeah, Brad, you guys got anything more to add? Go on.
Yeah, only that it might be just a ruse by the Greek owner to get more money out of the deal. I mean, it seems like he sort of thinks that the player is worth more than 60 million and was surprised at that and says, "What the hell are you doing? We could have got a lot more for that. Let's delay it and see if we can get some more money out of it." Could be as simple as that.
Right, we'll stay with you now. I think this guy's been it's been a bit of unfair justice with our signing because Morgan's Gibbs White's taken over. So Brad, I'll stay with you. Kudos. He's had his medical. I don't know if you've seen the videos. I posted it around, and I posted the training videos out everywhere as well.
Haven't seen that one yet.
Okay, fine. They're out there. If they've gone from where I've posted them, then you'll find them on YouTube. What's your take on the signing?
Well, from what I've been reading, if we get the Kudos that played for West Ham in the first season, he played for West Ham. It's just like a very good deal. I mean, he apparently can play across a lot of positions. He's not just a one-trick pony. I like what he's been saying in interviews. He only wanted to come to Tottenham. You want that.
Sorry, Adrian, that's me. Go back to your back.
That's all right.
And
that's all right.
I just think, I think it's a decent
Do them
buy.
anyway and go through the chat anyway.
Yeah.
What we talk.
I mean, I think even the price that we paid for him. I mean, there's another thing, wasn't there? Supposedly an 80 million release clause for Premier League clubs and 85 million pound release clause for European clubs, etc. 100 million release clause for Saudi Arabian clubs. That was going around, and that was like until the 10th of July, and yet we signed him on the 9th of July. So, yeah, it just makes the whole transfer business a bit nutty. But no, I think that looks like a good deal. I mean, I want to see him play, so hopefully he might get some minutes. Hopefully the Reading game is on Spurs play on the weekend.
It is.
When the doctor was examining him in a video, when the doctor was examining his video and the heart and that, he said, that sound you hear is my heart beating for Tottenham. Or to paraphrase.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to hear that. That sometimes you do wonder whether, you better say the right things. If you say this,
Did you watch the training videos, Kev?
No, I haven't seen. I've seen sort of flashes of them, but I mean, I've got to like him. I stuck him in my fantasy team last year. I don't put too many West Ham players in my fantasy team. I must admit, but then that's when he started being bad. So so perhaps I won't put him in this year. Not to start off with anyway, or anything like that. But I think it's a good deal. And as Brad said, he can play across the front line. Somewhere I read today that he says he wants to play in central. But
in the 10.
I'm sure Mr. Frank will sort it all out for us.
I'll tell you what I did like when I seen. So I mean, I know that the videos that you see on YouTube I could probably make me look a £80 million player, but what I did like about him is that he seems very strong on the ball, which I think was the failing of Gill. I think Brian Hill was an absolutely incredibly skillful player, but he was so lightweight. And in the Premier League, he just gets pushed off the ball. What I've seen of Kudos, he's got a lot of body strength there.
Yeah, it's a sort of almost like Moussa Dembele.
Yeah,
knock me off the ball type.
Exactly.
Are you going to get it from me?
Yeah. So I was very impressed with that. It's interesting to see him meeting up with Nicky van der Ven as well, wasn't it? So
Yes.
That
After
looked
that little
great.
contretemps. Yeah.
See the two of them together, that looked like a made-up link photo to me. What I see of them in the training. Did you watch the training video, Ian?
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't. I really have been too busy following
That's
this
fair enough.
thing.
He's quick.
Can I make-
He's a good dribbler. I've been saying it. I can't go back on what I've been saying like for years. Right? When you got a front three, I expect them all to score goals. I want to see more goals out of him. Yeah. He's got. If you're going to play in the 10, he should even get even more. But he'd be with a better team. And Frank wanted him, and he fitted the profile of what we wanted to bring in. Yeah. So anyone else got anything on to him? Because I want to get Ian's take on Walton in a minute.
Because I am going to have to disappear at some point. I'm starting to look back now on the sacking of Ange, and it's starting to make a lot more sense. Because when you think about it, Levy obviously knew that we were going to be spending a lot of money. And the board must have had a view. Do you trust Ange with £300 million? Now that's the question. Brad's laughing. Brad's laughing.
I agree with you.
To me, it makes sense that the board said, do you know what? We do not trust Ange Postecoglou to spend, because we're not going to have that many £300 million, and that's a speculative figure. But we're already up nearly 2, and we've still got a few more to go.
I
think it might be more along the lines of the backing that was coming in might have influenced the decision to get Thomas Frank and said, look, we will come in with our money, but we would prefer to see Thomas Frank, who is a probably more sort of tactical manager. And look, don't get me wrong, I love Ange at Tottenham. I really do. I was so sad to see him go. And, he's a legend for winning that trophy. But the Premier League position wasn't good. And I wasn't 100% confident that we would improve much this season. So it could be that the backers have come in and said, well, look, we'll come in and back you, but you need to change your manager. Maybe that was in there somewhere. But, it does, as you say, Ian, it does seem to make a lot more sense when you see the money coming in. Yeah.
I was gutted when Ange got fired.
Yeah, I was,
So was I.
But it makes more sense.
I'm going to bring this up first because I don't like to trap people or ask people trick questions. That's not what we do in Diehards. Right? Bring this up. There's a reason for it, right? Premier League homegrown. Currently, we've got 7. We've got Dominic Solanke, Kevin Danso, Brandon Austin, Ben Davies, Jane Madison, Brennan Johnson, and Died Spence. We need 8. So for those fans watching on different platforms, I know we all got players we like, we dislike, we want at a club, we want out of the club, blah, blah, blah. But for those that didn't want Ben Davies, he's going nowhere. For those that are half and half on Madison, he's going nowhere. And those that are half and half of Brennan Johnson, he's not going there. I think and some don't even like Solanke. So if we guys, we can't get rid of everyone. We are keeping the goal posts and the corner flags. Okay, we are keeping them. I can assure you that, right? So so there's a reason I'm bringing this up, because Ian half loaded to it earlier, and I'll come to him first. Now, for 2 or 3 weeks, for those you don't know, and it goes back further, our interest in this player, Adam Walton. He's a cracking young player, right? Now, there's strong rumours going around, and they are rumours, but they seem to have a bit of solidity to them, is that we've been talking to Crystal Palace for weeks. Forget all this 100 mil on the paper, because no one's paying 100 mil for a player's age, right? They're not doing it. So we have discussed a 65 to 72 and after 75, and Callum Stubbs brought this up on our show on Friday. So perhaps to shout out to Callum, right? Yeah. And I went looking afterwards, found lots of back sources and all that. Nothing concrete. And don't forget, this guy's homegrown. And another homegrown player we're linked with is Hayden Hackney as well, Middlesbrough. Another good young talent. And the rumour is in the club, although, I wouldn't mind Paulina in out, or maybe a Douglas Luiz or something like that. That would be a cheaper option. But the rumour is with Paulina is like, he's too old for the profile we're looking for. Douglas Luiz, they're trying to really push his player and he'd love to come to Spurs. But I think our eyes are on homegrown because we need to fill this homegrown spot. The only other way we do it is we move on to fullbacks with Walker Peters or Sirkin later, but I don't think they're the issue. So what's this tell you, Ian? What does this tell you?
You asking me?
Yeah. What's it tell you?
It tells me that we are, for the first time, we are proper serious players. I mean, I'm inclined to think from those of you that watch Callum. I mean, he has a lot of good contacts in the game. You know, a lot of good contacts around Spurs. He's involved with the youth side there. There's been a lot of conversations, amicable conversations. They want either around 70, 75 million, and they want the majority up front. Spurs are saying it will pay you 70 million or 75 million, but we'll say we'll put it in 325 million installments. If you want a higher number up front, we'll give you 65 million. Let's say we'll give you 40 million or 45 million now, and the other 20 million next summer. So that's where it is. There is no doubt. This is one of those. There's no doubt a deal to be done. I hope it doesn't drag on too long. But I think if the boy wants Tottenham, I think any footballer at the moment will see what's going on at Tottenham and think, I want to be part of that. Champions League, just won a cup, top new manager, proper stadium, real proper stadium, state-of-the-art training facilities, club prepared to spend good money on the best players to play with me. It's seriously, for the first time, it's a real no-brainer. And in fact, I can't understand Mbeumo wanting to go to United because that's still a complete basket case of a club. And they can't even contemplate buying him until they get rid of their dross. And they can't get their dross out the door. No one wants them. I mean, it might be right at the end of the transfer window that that they managed to get rid of a few. But I can't really understand why Mbeumo wouldn't want to be part of this. And Mbeumo, Solanke, and Kudos, that would just be, I mean, that's got real power with, and then you start.
Well, if we got Wissa, he's Congolese as well as Kudus as well.
Yeah. Again, we're not really pursuing Wissa. He does not fit our profile. And if Brentford are looking at the thick end of 50 million for a player that will be 29 in September, that's not going to happen. But the talk is, again, rumours today about us looking for another player at Brighton. And the word is it Evan Ferguson? Is that his first
Ewan,
name?
is it Ewan Ferguson?
Ewan or Evan Ferguson?
The young striker, yeah.
I mean, right,
Yeah, they put 100 million on him a few years ago, and then he got that injury, didn't he? I think.
Absolutely, and I think there's a player there. I think he's lost confidence and whatever. But I think as a backup player, again, going back to your homegrown numbers, that you can put in a squad, see how he goes. It might be a loan with an option. That's, to me, that's the kind of no-brainer signing. It's an absolutely win-win for us. If it doesn't work out, send it back. But
Right, back on to Walton. You happy, Kev? Brad and Kev, I come to you on Walton. Would you be happy with Walton?
Yeah, without a doubt. I remember watching Palace. Well, don't get me wrong, I haven't seen a lot of Palace, but watching the semi-final against Aston Villa and then the final against Man City, yeah, I was very impressed with Walton, and that's exactly the sort of player that Tottenham need, because we don't have a lot. We've got a lot of talent in our midfield, but I don't think we've got a lot of grit. We don't have a lot of players that can take control of the game, and the Steven Gerrards of this world. We haven't had that sort of a player. So I was very impressed with how he played against. I didn't realise, to be honest with you, I didn't even realise he was that young. I just presumed he's like in his 20s because he's made a couple of England performances as well. But I'd welcome that. And as you say, if we're going to put that money in it, well then, that suggests to me. Well, we on this show we discussed the Levy video, didn't we? We were talking about winning the Champions League and the Premier League, and you know, failure's not an option. It's like, well, now we've got it on video. You did wonder that there was something in the background going on that he knew about, and now we're going to looking like we might pay that sort of money if you believe all the rumours, obviously.
Well, I'm going to bring something else up about that, and all. But Kev, I mean, 75 mil max, and Spurs they've got a deadline, so it might be a couple of weeks, right? And they might say, look, if we can't do something in a couple of weeks, we're walking away from this, which is understandable because we've got a professional in this window. We can't drag on, and not end up with when we've got other targets.
No, and we're going away on tour in a couple of weeks' time, so you want to be able to take players on that journey with you, don't you? I mean, Tom, my son, has been raving about Wharton all of last season. I think he's always been on saying we ought to get him. Like Brad, I hadn't seen too much of him until the semi-final, final, and a couple of England performances, but he looked pretty dynamic there. I mean, but obviously Bergval's growing into that sort of role as well. And I think, I don't know how he's quite performing with his injury at the moment, mind you, at the moment. So, but yeah, I think if we can get him, it'd be great.
Right. Reading between the lines, going to bring this banner up and I'll come to Ian. All right. Because what this is telling me, we're willing to pay the money for Gibbs White. We paid the money. Well, we're paying it in installments, obviously, because I think Kudus is his name. Three payments, right? Then we're willing to pay the Gibbs White, and I think we've got about enough cash reserves to pay that in a lump sum. But then that if you're buying a player for 60 mil or whatever, and they want the money all up front, you've also got the issue of the player actually costs you more because if you've got to go and borrow the money, you've got to pay the interest on the money to the bank anyway. So that means the deal's a lot more, and you haven't figured in the wages yet. So this rumoured ENIC investment. We've heard rumoured Saudi investment. There's a rumoured 15-year naming rights deal, and there's a rumoured new AOA shirt deal. Now, all these transfers, I don't know if you're thinking the same as I am, Ian, but I'm thinking we've got more than one deal in the pot here going because of the money we're spending. I mean, ENIC, what are they going to put in 100, 120 mil? All right, they might cover the first couple of transfers. And I don't know if Danso or Kota Takai, although it didn't cost a lot, were in last year's accounts or this year's accounts. I know they're paid for. And Katai's got, for those that don't know, he's got his work permit, so he'll be available for Saturday's going against Reading, right? So yeah, so this smells to me. I mean, there's been lots of rumours in towards the last 6 months of last season, and when something's happening, something's in the background going on. This has got to be more than one deal, unless it's Saudi's coming in with 300 mil. I mean, a 15-year shirt deal, that's good, but if it's 25 mil a year, that just pays the interest on our debt. That just pays the interest on a stadium debt. We're not going to get that in one hit. But the rumoured shirt deal could be massive. Saudi investment could be massive.
I keep going back, and I've said this on a few streams, to the annual report that came out in April 2024, where Daniel Levy said we need to paraphrase it, expand the equity base of the company. Right. So in other words, we need new shares. That's not ENIC. And people say, because if let's say Joe Lewis's shares went up for sale, and they went up for sale for £3 billion, not worth that, £3 billion, and your Saudi company go in and pay £3 billion, that money goes to the trust, to ENIC. Not a penny of that goes into Tottenham Hotspur. So when Levy talked about expanding the equity base, he's talking about creating new shares. Maybe a £1 billion worth of new shares. Yeah, new shares. That money goes directly to the company. May not be as much as that, because it looks like ENIC are fronting some money as well, and it seems like the family trust are keen to actually develop the club. And
you've got the added thing as well. The reason you've got that thinks that this investment's coming in, because building them hotels isn't going to be cheap. And if those companies are part of the companies out of Lily White House, there's 12 or 14 companies, for people who don't know, that have something to do with Spurs. But those ones that are involved with the club and our money, that any profits they make go into Tottenham Hotspur because they're in a part of the financial report. Every company in that report, the profit goes into Tottenham Hotspur. Right. So,
it does remind me of 2022 when they did the share issue, which gave us £150 million. Because if you remember then, we went in really, really quickly. We suddenly signed Richarlison for 60 million and Basuma for 35 million, whatever it was, really, really quickly. And everyone's going, oh, wow, we've changed. And then suddenly it stopped. So you do wonder whether maybe they've done that again. But I think there must be some outside investment. Must be.
Yeah. Because I think we're going to end up... The word on the street is that we're going to spend between 250 and 300 million this summer.
Well, we have to. We have to get a squad. And I like the fact that people are saying, oh, where's this player going to fit in? Whose place is he going to take? And how's such and such a player going to... No, that's what you want. You want that. And players like, say, Son, for instance, a good example, you're going to have to say to players like Son, well, okay, you can stay at the club, we can extend your contract, but you're not going to get as many match time now.
Yeah.
Because we need the squad.
Can I take everybody back to that press conference, whatever you want to call it, that video with Daniel Levy and Vinay Venkateshan, where he looked as happy as the proverbial pig in shit. I mean, with that big smile on his face, and he's not media savvy, he's quite media shy, where he looked to be absolutely happy as hell. He was camera saying, we want to win the Premier League, we want to win the Champions League. It should have been obvious to anybody that he wasn't just making himself a hostage to fortune. He knew stuff was coming.
Yeah.
And this idea as well put about by some, he's now just relegated to the role of office boy. The word I get is from inside the club is, he'll take more of a back seat and run this business side because there'll be a lot of money coming in. But he's as happy as anybody. That there's money coming in. I'm sure he's concerned about his legacy as much as his bank balance. He's already got, the thick end of £1 billion on paper for his shareholding in Tottenham. There's a limit to how much money you actually need. And a man is, 62, he's a bit younger than me. There's a limit to how much money, even for your kids and grandkids. So I think that I just think there's a lot of very positive things happening, and I'm just glad.
Ian, do you think that these announcements are not going to be made until after the transfer window closes for obvious reasons?
Absolutely. I mean, we're not a publicly listed company. If we were a publicly listed company, we would have to have made these announcements to the stock exchange before. I was having a look at the rules on Companies House, and as I understand it, from any change in share ownership, you have 4 weeks to notify Companies House of that, or it might be a month, but either way, it might be before the end of the transfer window.
It's 1st of September.
If you think this deal was maybe done on the 1st of July, and it may be that we have to announce it 30th of July or something, 31st of July or something like that, which is why we are desperately trying to get so much done. Isn't Levy hanging around on transfer deadline day? We may still be doing it, looking for bargain basements. This is us coming out and actually doing the business. And we would have had Gibbs White. People saying in the chat we won't get Wharton. I actually think we will. I think
I do.
Suggests that we are going to get Wharton.
It might be a 75 mil structured deal, 60 72 and a half, but I think we'll get him. Because
we need to get players before the tour, don't we? Before the pre-season tour.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was having this over the Morgan White situation with people, and I said, "Well, look." I said, normally, if you were bringing a foreign player in, I would say, yeah. But Gibbs White's proven. So you don't need to see him. We know what he can do. Walton's proven. You don't need to see him. We know what he can do. You know.
Yeah, but what I meant was you've got
I
to
know
get
you're blending them in and all that. I get that. But I mean, like, it's not super critical, right?
It's going from a Nuno tactical situation to a Thomas Frank tactical situation, which I'd imagine be quite different. So that's what I meant. It's they've got to get used to these new tactics. That's why I don't think we'll do a lot in the league this season, because it will take time for the players to get used to the new tactics. So let's be honest, we haven't really had much tactics in the past season. So they've got to change again. They've gone from Conte to Postecoglou to Thomas Frank. It's like, whoa, so.
Right, we're on the hour mark. Time for me to do my usual plug of the channel, right? We've got 123 of you viewing us now on various platforms, which is absolutely fantastic because we're only a year old as a channel. And Spurs Diehards, I mean, like, where shows go out, for those of you just viewing us for the first time, our shows go out Tuesday, where I host. Friday, Drewzilla hosts, but Tom will be hosting me on Tuesdays when the season starts. We'll be doing it together. And so I host, Drewzilla hosts Fridays and I'm with him. And Ian hosts on a Sunday and I just co-host below Ian there, the three of us. Ian started doing shorts, 3-minute videos, less than videos on YouTube as well. And we'll post them in XCOM as well. I'll come to that in a minute. But for you to video the shorts and get the notifications, you need to have your notifications set on your phones. It doesn't work on laptops for some reason or other. So like I say, shows go out 3 days a week. We have a Facebook group with 14,500 members, which I started 6 years ago when the stadium opened. We've also got a Facebook page, which has gone from about 290 to about 301 now. But the videos go out there, so some of you might be watching through the Facebook page. The videos also go on XCOM, and we've got 3,200 on there, on Spurs Diehards on XCOM, and Ian's got an account on XCOM as well, so we'll both be posting and then reposting each other's posts because that helps as well, the algorithm on XCOM. Yeah, so big up to everyone in the chat. Big up to you for your questions. If you've got them, keep them coming in. And all I can say, and a very big up to those that bother to watch us on playback. Like you say, we're a young group. We're doing okay. And in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the YouTube logo. If please subscribe to the channel. Click the logo. Subscribe to the channel. We are doing memberships if you're interested in memberships. And all I say is thank you. And back again.
Yeah.
I mean,
Adrian, I'm going to knock off there. As I say, people know I've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning to get a flight back from Spain, and I am flagging. So give others a chance to talk a bit more. So I try to get more in first. Just again with the notification button, not the alarm button, the notification. But if you have it, or if you have it for all notifications, it means that when I do the shorts and things, and I'm doing an increasing number of them as I get to grips with the technology, and with all the things that are going on, I'll do another short tomorrow on the latest on Gibbs White and any bits. But that means you'll see them, and that helps the algorithm for the show as well. So, I'm nearly pressed the end stream there. Brad, Kev, Adrian, you take care, and we're back.
We'll speak tomorrow probably.
Well, who knows? We'll be back whenever we're.
Alistair Gull's got a new video out, by the way, so something must be happening.
Been absolutely fantastic. Yeah, cheers, everybody.
Right, okay, we'll carry on the homegrown a minute. We know that there's strong rumours with Walton. It's not a done deal or anything, but there's been pretty concrete talk. So we wouldn't have talked for over 3 weeks if there wasn't, if a deal couldn't be reached or close to it. So this is a homegrown player. I can't remember. I may have watched a video of him because I've watched so many videos. If I ever forgotten,
is Morgan Gibbs White a homegrown player? Is he classed as that?
Yes. So is Walton. This is why I'm bringing them up, and to combine it as well with these three. I mean, I'm hearing that again. They're not really into Anthony Robinson in 28-29. He's a good left back. They're not really into Walker Peters either, who would cost nothing. Dennis Serkin might be an option for the club. But this is all like sort of talk coming out. The issue is we don't know how much money we've actually got to spend. if we have got that 300 million, if we have got that, and we spend 120 on 2 and get Walton in for 75 down to, you're under 200 million. If you've got another 60 odd million to spend or 100 million to spend, it looks like it would. I mean, like you'd go for a DM rather than bother with a fullback. I mean, it's not super critical. I mean, we've got more centre back. We're 9 centre backs if you include the youngsters
now. Yeah.
So, and then we're getting linked with Estev at Burnley and all that. I mean, come on. I mean, but what? And we're linked with Estev, even if Romero was to go, and he's going nowhere because Atletico Madrid have got no money. Real Madrid, they could, I suppose, find the money. They always find a way, don't they? But he would be an excellent replacement for Sergio Ramos. But my argument against this is that Romero and Diego Simeone, they're good pals, right? If you go and play for your rivals, that friendship ends, as far as I'm concerned. Right? I don't see it happening.
Didn't seem to happen in the old Spurs Arsenal days. They all went out drinking together. but yeah,
Walker Peters and Sirkin would be homegrown for the European Champions League, which means instead of having you're allowed 17 foreigners, 8 homegrown, 4 have to be academy trained for 3 years. We've only got 1 in Brandon Austin. So that means we lose players in the European Champions League squad. So last year we had 15. At the moment, we can only have 14 foreign players. If we brought Walker Peters or Sirkin in, we would have 15. Looks to me we might go to get Sirkin. How much would it cost? I don't know, maybe 25 mil.
Yeah.
Which sounds like what we've been laying out recently.
But did your calculations include Morgan Gibbs White or not?
Yeah, because I said if you've got Kudos and Morgan Gibbs White, that's like 115 mil, isn't it? If we paid 75,
I meant for the amount of players, the amount of homegrown players. Were you including Morgan Gibbs White in your numbers?
No, I didn't. I put 7 up, didn't I? The 7 I put up were where are they? Let's get them again.
Yeah. So that means, I mean, if we did get Walton and Gibbs White, that's 2 more onto that number, isn't it? So
don't forget we could get money coming in for players like Richarlison.
No, but they wouldn't be academy trained at our club.
Right.
So
no. So I'm Premier League homegrown.
The money that we're spending.
Yeah.
You mentioned the money that we're spending. How much money have we got?
Yeah, if it was 75 for Walton, we would have spent 190 mil. So the question is, have we got 250 mil or 300? Look, if we spent 60 mil on a DM, I'm not panicking. As much as I'd like a quality left back, as to compete with you, doggy, not backup. I hate that term. We're Tottenham Hotspur when we talk about backups, right? So, yeah, I'd like a left back. We're all right on the right hand side. We've got enough centre backs to sort out.
I'd like Dennis Sirkin actually, from what I've seen him at Sunderland.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he was good when he was here with our under 21s or whatever, and he played a couple of games, didn't he? For us and cups and things like that. And I thought, he looked cracking. Then we sold him.
I was quite surprised that we let him go. I must admit,
he wanted to go.
He
wanted to go.
Get first thing.
Well, they had players like that. Madueke wanted to go. Dylan Marcandy wanted to go.
Yeah.
Tyrus Hall, who's a ball carrying number 8, looks a fantastic, skillful player at his level. Right, hasn't been on it alone yet. He had a big bust up with Ange, apparently, according to Callum Stubbs said. So,
what's about the player that you like? He's got the double barrel name. I saw him introduced as a new player the other day on the website. Has he signed a contract?
Williams Barnett.
Yeah, has he signed a new contract or?
Yeah, he's 16, 17. There's 2. Stuart Lewis has come up from the under 18s now. He's been promoted to do pathway for the academy players. I'll go through the scouts in a minute, actually. So, Williams Barnett, he's a generational talent at his level. He's a phenomenon. I mean, they won their cup this year. They beat Charlton. They spanked them that 4-5 0 in the final. I watched it. I think it was 4 or 5 0. He scored again. I mean, if you go and watch that game, you see him. The kid again, he's got everything. But there was another player in that team caught my eye I hadn't seen before twice, Tynan Thompson. Remember that name? And then you can come back at me and give me pelts if he's no good. He's a left winger. goes past people for fun. But it's all at that level. You see, you never know if they're going to. Some players improve and develop, some don't. You know, and we know that the majority of our players are in academy. They're not going to play at the Spurs first team. They're going to be sold or moved on. Yeah, so that's it on that. Hayden Hackney and all that. The striker options again. I mean, Vlahovic, he's available. The issue is, though, guys, is if Richarlison digs his heels in with 2 years in his contract to go, Basuma's only got one. Could do that with the World Cup. Only wants to go at the Premier League. So it's looking like Everton, Brighton. I mean, like Danny Welbeck can't keep playing. He's got to be about 98 now, and so you would get value for Richarlison simply because there's a dearth of strikers out there. Where are you going to buy a good striker for 40 mil? He's easy 40, 45 mil. You get it easy for him.
Vlahovic was like the flavour of the month, wasn't he, a few seasons ago?
Yeah.
He's the one that everyone wanted.
And which shouldn't be too. The point is, I think this is whether Richarlison stays depending on what we discussed at the transfer business we're doing now with the midfielders and probably a DM before we worry about whether we keep Richarlison and let him go. Frank liked Richarlison before when he was at Brentford. He liked him, right? So if you could keep him fit for a season, who knows? He might be able to produce the goods, right? But you don't know. So, but if you really wanted to get rid of Biss and Basuma, you got to turn, and their foreign quotas as well, or you got to turn and say, well, look, it's like this, guys. You're not going to get much game time under me, and I'm not putting you in the European Champions League squad. And Richarlison wants World Cup, like all players do.
Yeah,
I'm
that's going on.
I'm not sure if Basuma's team is it Mali. I'm not sure whether they've qualified or not. I don't know. So we know Brazil always qualify, don't they? So
they're already qualified, I think.
This is why I don't think with the strikers, even though Evan Gessens of Nice has been mentioned, and I've watched him, and the guy is quick. I'm telling you that he is fast, and he can play across the front, wing, or central. Vissa we know about. Vlahovic again. I've gone on about Vlahovic. I mean, Daniel always ribs me about mod in here in the channel. He ribs me about Vlahovic, and I just don't think we're pushing for strikers at the moment.
I don't think we are either. I mean, if you think what we've got, I mean, people complain about Johnson on the right wing. He's more an inside forward.
Yeah,
it should be in the box, isn't he? And so he can play up there. Kudos has said he wants to play in the middle. Kulusevski, can be behind a front runner as well. So I think we got quite a few options there. The trouble is they keep getting injured at the moment. So there's no consistency, and Solanke just has to run himself into the ground, sort of thing, because he's got no one to back him up. But then we got the young guys as well. I mean, there's still Dane Scarlett is there, isn't he? And people like that. So I think across the front.
Yeah, we got Scarlett and Lancashire. You'd think if they're any good, but I have my doubts that they are for Premier League level. But we'll see. I was proven wrong about
Gil gets sold. Veliz is on loan anyway. He's gone back to Rosario Central. Scarlett will go on loan. Divine will go on loan. They're not getting rid of those. Son's not going anywhere. We need his experience. Richie, if we get our other business done quick, he could go out. But I don't think we're looking to get rid of him. And then we've got Donnelly's definitely not going anywhere. Davies is homegrown. He's not going anywhere. Lancashire probably go to West Brom with Ryan Mason, unless he goes with Chris Davies at Birmingham, our ex-coach who's there, doing well there. I can see we lost lining players there. But I only see Gil being sold here, actually. And, I don't see the others being sold. I mean, because commercially, if you've got these youngsters and they're good, why do you sell them now? If you loan them out and they do well, their value goes up. So
it's a shame that Orient didn't get promoted, isn't it? Because you could have given Donnelly another season in the Championship. Because I think that's the problem with Donnelly I have is the fact that League One to the Premier League is a big jump.
It's a big leap.
But certainly out of all the youngsters we got out there, he certainly seems to be the one that are creating the headlines and has done stuff up there late in Orient.
Yeah, and he played well in the cup against higher level teams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he did. He did.
Sort
Yeah,
of
yeah,
not that non-goal of his.
yeah.
You know, and so I think we probably see 22 players playing against Reading at the weekend and all this sort of thing. So I'm sure they'll all get sort of 45 minutes to start off with, you know, and they probably won't play any of the guys who've just come back this week, will he? So
Well, that's true.
yeah.
I mean, to a certain extent, Thomas Frank will know what he's got with a lot of the players. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, he would have seen them play and know what he's
Oh,
got.
God,
There'll be
yeah.
certain
And I
players.
hope he's been watching more videos than Adrian, I suspect.
Yeah.
We've got a couple more banners. We're probably finishing 15, just do the hour and a half. Right, Frank's coaching team. Now I know me, Kev, Brad, Ian, all those involved with our group, and there's 60 odd we've got in our WhatsApp group. We've all been wanting to clear out of the club, and there's been a big clear out. Right? So this is in 2 banners. I'll give you a rundown on these, and these guys can have their chats. This is the first banner. Andrews Georgian, he's a set piece coach, right, which everyone's been crying out for. I always think all coaches should be able to do lots of things. So, but
We shouldn't they?
Well, what about the one we had that had apparently 3,000 different set pieces or something?
Oh yeah, the Italian guy. You know. Then Fabianotti. Well, he's a good upgrade as goalkeeping coach because mate, he's got Rob Birch is gone. He's left the club. This guy's been in Germany. Tom knows a lot about him actually. He's done well. He was at Liverpool as well, and we've got him in. We've also got another goalkeeping coach who's going to be probably working alongside him, either assistant or they might be sharing the responsibility. Then look, we've got Justin Cochran, an attack coach. So Chris Haslam, head of performance and assistant coach. There's a few assistant coaches. Matty Wells now, who's highly rated at the club. But we know last year, I mean, he's the defence coach, and then Joe Newton's probably taken over from Milo Jedinek as the first team analyst. He'll be up on with the press guys with the laptop, getting all the stats on the players from their vests or wherever sports bras they wear or whatever, like, you know. So yeah.
Is there a guy who's the guy that connects the academy with the first team?
Yeah, there's one of those.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. Stuart Lewis has been promoted for that. I'll move this up now to the second banner. He's the Cameron Campbell, individual player development. What he'll be doing is actually, if he thinks players' weaks in areas when they do the evaluation sheets on players, he'll be going like, yeah, you're good at this, but you need to improve on this, that, and the other, or whatever. And Stuart Lewis, who was the under-18s,
first team academy
coach,
transition.
He's the transition coach now. Be dealing with pathways, like liaising with the manager and the other coach and saying, look, this kid could do with a place on the subs bench. Dean Brill's the assistant goalkeeping coach. Nick Stubbins, the physio. I believe John from the Cheese Room in our WhatsApp group. I believe I know him in real life, I think. Tom Perriman, strength and conditioning. I don't know if he's any relation to our legend Stevie. He played 853 games for the club. Don't know if he's on that. So, yeah.
I would have thought we would have been told if there was.
Yeah.
He might be a distant, you never know. So, I'm pleased we got all these coaches in. Funnily enough, during the cull, I know, well, we all know from last season that all the fans that were doing a critique of the club, all aspects of the club, they were using the shotgun effect and blasting it all and sundry. And I remember Johan Langer taking a lot of stick.
You did, yeah.
Well, he survived the cull.
Survived,
when you think about it, he got rid of all those players. He got rid of lots of players out on loan. Bergvall coming under him. VDV coming in there under him. We now got Kudus is coming under him. And for those of you who are watching, the 130 of you that are watching us now, he was a coach with Thomas Frank, because they're both Danish. Frank was at Brøndby, but like they were at a Danish club, Dingby, together. They were together there. So he probably had quite a bit to do with getting Frank into Tottenham as well. He must have, because he's DOF. It's part of his job. So I think Langer, I think we might have to sort of just stop with Langer now, because I think like with the players he's brought in, and look, and if he hadn't done well, he wouldn't have survived the Levy Carl, would he? He wouldn't have survived. Like.
It's actually
the
quite
other
funny
thing, the other thing that's happened is, of course, with as well as the Levi and Vinay interview, there was one with Langer as well, wasn't there?
Exactly, and Thomas, all pally, wasn't they? Yeah.
And that hasn't happened before, has it?
No.
No. It's always been just the manager or have something with him. The PR has changed dramatically.
They've improved.
Well,
it couldn't be any worse.
It couldn't be any worse. It was terrible, wasn't it? I mean, I couldn't believe the PR of the club in the last 3 or 4 seasons, to be honest. Absolutely revoltingly bad. And it's got better incredibly quickly. It's got better.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite funny. Yeah, they both, I like the fact they both said, we both sat down and discussed things. And that's what you want. You want your director of football or whatever they call them now to work with you.
And you want them to be nice and open and tell us they're doing it as well.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's not hard, is it?
And regarding the coaches, I mean, Kev pointed out to me today, but I'd seen it earlier, that in training, we've been practicing long throws.
Well, no, it was long throw auditions was what was written on the board. What's happening today at the bottom? Long throw auditions. Woohoo!
Yeah. Well,
we're all very up to remember, aren't we? We're all old.
Oh God, yeah.
Ian Hutchinson, Martin Chivers, Rory Delat, Stoke.
Yeah.
As
I said, I put in the chat. I put in the chat earlier about, because I remember the big match having a long throw competition with Chivers, Hutchinson, and a couple of others as well. I think there was one from Newcastle and all that sort of thing. It was where they just threw how close can you get to the penalty spot? I think it was sort of thing.
Yeah. Want to see something with 3 kicks, a bit of a variation instead of this magnetic attraction of trying to bend the ball around the wall. I think if you Google it, anyone in the chat, the 130 of you that are watching us, if you Google it, the last time I Googled it was a couple of seasons ago. It was about 1 in 16 was scored. I'd like to see some variations, like where the ball slipped down the side of the wall, when the ball's chipped over the wall and someone runs on it. I'm like, if you've got the long throw, guys, find out who's got the longest throw. Well, who's got the hardest shot? What happened to the old tap to the side and someone just keeping it simple? Someone blast it. You might come off the keeper and someone like Sonny goes in and nips one. Things like that. I want to see that this season when I'm going.
Well, we had I remember when we had Alan Nilsson. He had a long throw, but at the time, the club. I can't remember who was the manager at the time, but we were criticised.
It was Graham, wasn't it? George Graham.
Might have been before.
Yeah, it was. Because we won the League Cup.
We got criticised.
Didn't we? Yeah.
Someone actually sort of said, that's the only weapon that Tottenham have got, the long throw. So
Perisic took a few long throws, I recall.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Yeah. Perisic,
The last one. Yeah. And I think Porro's got a decent throw on him.
Well, I mean, he takes all the throw-ins anyway down the right-hand side because he's the designated throw-in guy. Another thing that really annoys me.
We do laugh. I mean, Liverpool have got a person that studies throw-ins.
Yeah.
Northern Ireland did, and then he went to Villa for doing them set pieces. And you can't tell me. I know if you haven't got. This is why you've got coaches. If a manager hasn't got time to do all this himself, and we know Frank does a lot of work on the training field. Then you have your coachings, or you bring players in to do. I could create throw-in drills, because when you get a throw-in, your opponents have got 10 outfield players to your 9, because you've got the guy taking the throw, and we need to take them a lot quicker. Because when we get a throw, we don't exactly know what to do with the ball, waiting for something to happen.
And that's the whole point of having this coach who's going to concentrate on restarts and throw-ins, because we just think our throw-ins are just terrible. Even attacking or defending, we give the ball away every time. It's so frustrating from someone who used to take throw-ins. For my club, all that time I was designated throwing guy. But most of mine used to go straight down the line. Because we had a nippy winger.
When I was playing kids football around the time of Martin Chivers. Yeah, we all wanted to take a long throw. Everyone wanted to, I'll take it. You know, it was a massive part of the game in those days, but it seems to have disappeared now.
Right,
Yeah,
I'll
but
scroll
all in all,
down.
yeah, everyone's happy with the with what's happening with the coaching setup now. Yeah.
Well, it's been changed. It can only be for the better. Kota Takai's now got his work permit, so he's available for the game on Saturday. I think you'll get tickets. We've got Reading versus Spurs this Saturday coming. I think it's a 3 o'clock kickoff.
Could be a busy day Saturday.
Yeah,
it is all on Spurs play.
Oh, good. It's also first British Lions, Australia, I think, in the morning.
Oh, yeah. I'll be watching that.
Then the Reading Tottenham, and then I'm going out for my mate's birthday in the evening. So it's going to be
open golf as well this weekend.
Of course, yeah.
Anfield Council have granted Tottenham playing
saw
for Spurs. So this comes back to investment again with me. These are deals going to be breaking, right? Whether it's in this if it's during this transfer window, it'll be like after we've done the majority of our business. We're not going to have clubs hold us to ransom now, and we've got loads of money. So, yeah. So, I think we'll end it there, guys. We've been going for nearly an hour and a half. I always hate to disappoint 130 of you, 32 of you watching us now. We are back Friday at 10 with Drew and myself. And we will preview the Reading game, which will be fun because you can see that being a game of 2 halves where every player gets a half or something. It'll be the game of substitutions anyway. So, but you want to see players have cameo performances. I want to see like Donnelly get a game of youngsters, but we'll cover that. All that leaves me to do is to plug the channel and thank my guests. So once again, for those of you, all of you, 134 of you watching us on various platforms, thanks for watching us. Like I say, if you like us, please subscribe to the channel and that little YouTube box in the bottom right-hand corner because it helps the algorithm. Thank all you that are watching the video, watching us on playback. I want to thank everyone in the chat for their comments and questions as well. Big up to you all. Thank my 2 guests, Brad and Kev, who are regular friends of the show. They'll be back anytime in the future. Have I forgotten anything? Yeah, and Ian will be doing shorts, 3-minute shorts. But you've got to have your notifications on your YouTube app on your phone. And like I say, we've got a Facebook group, Spurs Diehards TTID. If for those of you that use platforms like that, 14,500 members in there. It's been going over 6 years before we started this group last year. We've got a Facebook page, videos go out there. We've got XCOM, 3,250 members on there. The videos go out on XCOM. And Ian's got his chat on there as well with me. And I think that is about it. So once again, thanks to you all for joining with us on a Tuesday. It's excellent views actually for us because we are small, right? We're a small group. Yeah, 133 of you now. I'll see my guests in the back room and I'll play you out with this. And on the music, I'm going to vary it because I keep making more. Okay, play out.
Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Spurs Diehards, Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Spurs Diehards, Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Spurs Diehards, Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Spurs Diehards, Tottenham till I die.